All right, guys, well, I'm back today with one of the most functional and definitely one of the coolest high power copies I've ever seen or shot, the brand new Girsan MC P35, either the match version or the ops version. And the only difference I see is the ops version, which you're looking at right now, has the rail in the front, making it incredibly functional for a wide variety of scenarios. This is pretty slick because it takes that high power design and advances it with some few ergonomic features that I absolutely love, as well as the overall feel and reliability of a traditional high power. If you follow the channel, you'll know I just reviewed the more traditional MCP35. I'll make sure all of these are clear for you guys right here. So this one was a pretty direct copy of the Browning high power, and obviously there are going to be some design differences. 15 rounds, basic iron sights, a safety, everything about this just screamed high power, and it worked out really well. Now they updated it, they enhanced it, and they added a lot of cool features on the ops version, so we're going to take a look at that today. This is more going to be just a generic overview of this handgun, and we'll be continuing to shoot it more, just like we shot this standard Girsan more, so I can give you an update on that as well. And we'll talk about the differences between the two and overall the performance of this guy down at the range. I'm really excited to get this one out, and I've never shot a ton of high powers until I started taking a look at some of these Girsan copies. They just became a lot more obtainable than some of the other versions on the market. When you're looking at these, the MSRP is right around, I believe, $699, but you can find them a lot less than that depending on where you're looking. I believe I found this a little bit closer to $600 in a few places online. I'll try to do my best to put the best deals over on my campsite page. And my campsite page is an aggregate site of all the best deals I find on the internet, and I link to a lot of them over there. It's ever changing and ever updating, so the best thing to do is check out that campsite page, linked in the description below. But unfortunately, I can't link directly to any of these guns in that description, so you'll just have to check that out. So right off the bat, why would you want something like this? Well, if you've ever wanted a high power but found it to be difficult to acquire, or maybe just not in the right condition, or just way too much money for that perfect gun, grabbing a clone is a pretty cool way to get into it, having a new production handgun, and having something that you can actually afford. And this one really takes the cake just for a wide variety of reasons. One, you get that high power feel, but you also get a functional gun for competition, range shooting, as well as personal defense shooting. Right off the bat, this is an all steel framed handgun, so it's rather heavy, which I like for all of the applications I mentioned before. This is not really going to be a concealed carry handgun, so I don't mind the weight or the thickness of this handgun. I like the addition of the rail system on the front, and if I had to select between the match or the ops version, I would go with the ops version every time because that rail adds versatility, especially for a personal defense situation. Before we get too much talking about the performance of this down at the range, let's talk about the basic specs and features and the differences between the two handguns. And right off the bat, you can see that it's got an enhanced and an extended beaver tail with some G10 grips. This is a combination wraparound grip where it slides around the back but doesn't fully engulf the back of the handgun, so you're left with that smooth back strap. The grips provide a lot of nice texturing. They also look really cool, and I think the color scheme is perfect for this handgun. The golf ball pattern up front gives you some nice texturing, but it's not overly aggressive, and then the swooped pattern almost guides your thumb into the exact place you need. Also, that extended beaver tail protects your hand from slide bite, allowing you to get a good high hold on the handgun without worrying about getting caught by that slide, making it again great for competition shooting or range shooting. In contrast, in comparison to the standard MCP35, you can see the beaver tail is a lot shorter, and one thing to note right off the bat, this one has a mag disconnect. Make sure it's clear. Throw an empty mag in, and now we can drop that hammer. So you can see the differences between the two of the backs of these handguns right there. And you can also see the differences in the grips. The plastic grips are also a lot fatter on this one and leave it a little bit harder to eject that mag. So I like the new grip design on the ops version of this handgun, and I love the way it feels. One thing to note right off the bat is when you'll pick one of these up, it only comes with one mag in the box. I fussed Girsan for that. In this first one, and I'm still fussing now. These are, again, imported by EAA, and you can go to EAA's website and grab extra mags and things like that. You can also get all the detailed specs and features from EAA's website, and they do a really good job of laying everything out, so definitely check that out. And I can't link to their website because of YouTube's policies, but you can find it pretty simple. And then I can also show you guys kind of that manual right there if you wanted to look anything up. It's the exact same manual that comes with the MC P35. Now, moving along, what you're going to see is a few differences and a few similarities. The serrations are the same. The sights are going to be different. You actually get a fiber optic front sight and an adjustable rear sight on the OPS version. One thing to note, right out of the box, the fiber optic sight fell out. It wasn't heat sinked correctly. It looks like they get a piece of that fiber, they throw it in, they heat sink both sides. I just took a soldering iron, pressed it in, melted the end, and it's been holding up great. I'm probably about 250 rounds in, no issues whatsoever, but something to consider right out of the box. That's something that should have been caught in QC, but little things happen. It's not that big of a deal. The other differences is in the controls themselves, and this is really what takes it a step above and perfect for a competition handgun. So the safety is almost identical, but the slide release is dramatically different when it comes to ergonomics and feel. You can see how it slides it a little bit further over the grip than this one right here, and it also has an angle cut with texturing rather than this flat-facing angle cut. So it's got a compound angle on here. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So you can easily reach up and drop that perfectly. It is one of the absolute best slide releases I've ever felt on the handgun. And the fact that it's a long lever arm allows you to get that just overall good, solid feel to it. And it's super easy to drop the slide on a new mag for competitive shooting. The ergonomics on this are absolutely spectacular. The mag release button is also a little bit easier to hit. I can't tell it. I think it sticks out just slightly further than the other version, but ergonomically with these grips, it almost just slides in and you can drop it out. So they drop free, but right out of the box, they're not going to drop free. It took about 3 or 4 mags of working the gun, working that mag drop button to get them to drop free. So if they're not dropping free when you first pull out your gun, definitely run the gun a little bit. And that's something I noticed about this handgun more so than others. It seems like the tolerances on this entire handgun are incredibly tight. So it takes just a few hundred rounds to just break everything in smoothly. Now, functionally, I had no issues whatsoever, and we'll talk more about that in a second when we finish out the remainder of the accessories. But just to let you know, the tolerances are really tight on this gun, which is a positive, but it requires a little bit of break-in different aspects. Another difference you'll see is this flat-facing trigger, and this one actually does not have a magazine safety built in, so you can dry fire the gun without a magazine, and I like that. So you can see it's got super smooth take-up. It hits a defined wall, and then it has a very crisp break. Now the reset's a little bit long. It's not very audible or tactile, but then you have a nice smooth take-up again and a very crisp break. Right out of the box, again, the trigger was a little stiff. But after shooting about 250 rounds and dry firing it, the trigger kind of broke itself in a little bit when it came to the stiffness, and it's incredibly crisp. I like the trigger. I wish it was just a touch lighter, but overall, you can shoot this thing very fast. And again, when you start combining a lot of these enhancements, like the ergonomic grip, the beaver tail, the flat face trigger, the crisp break, and the all steel frame gun, this is where all of it starts to work together to become an incredible competitive shooting machine that just rattles off shots and transitions incredibly smooth. About the only other thing I want to discuss are the fact that this one has a rail system. The rail system is very close to the trigger guard, so it's hard to put full-size lights on here, but any of the O-lights with the track system or some of the Streamlight micro lights and the smaller lights fit on there perfectly. You'll have to play with a few, but I did want to mention that. Some of the O-light Valkyries, the larger lights, And the stream lights had some difficulty fitting on there, but a lot of the micro compact lights fit on there just fine. And that's indicative of just how short the rail is and how close to the trigger guard. But you can find a ton of lighting options to fit your needs perfectly. And that's where it transitions into a home defense role. Unlike this guy, I don't have a home defense gun or a car defense gun without having a light on the front. That's just something that I personally require. And you can go into all the tactics later, but that's not what this video is. This is again, a review video. So with all of that being said, this thing is absolutely awesome. It was 100% functional down at the range, and I'm going to have a huge shout out to Callaway Ballistics for sponsoring the ammo for this video. These guys are always sending out a ton of ammo out to the channel, and they also have a code 704 Tactical for free shipping on ammo orders over $200. So I shot some of the reman stuff as well as their new manufactured stuff. I also shot some steel cased ammo as well as some hollow points, and it fed everything great. So again, check out Callaway Ballistics, and don't forget that code 704 Tactical to save you some money on shipping over 200 bucks. It's just a solid running gun. The recoil impulse is almost non-existent with a steel frame gun like this. The fiber optic sights help you pick up the targets, and the ergonomics we talked about allow you to just maintain a good grip and control of this handgun, and it shoots so flat. It's a perfect kind of jack of all trades gun. You can use this for competition shooting. Can use this for home defense and just range use. It's a solid shooting gun, and it's a high power copy, so it checks a bunch of stuff off of a list. One of the downfalls for competition, though, is these are only 15-round magazines. It only comes with one in the box. Again, check out EA's website for more information on how to get more magazines. I believe they're very similar to other mags on the market, but I don't want to quote exact replacements. I did pick up a few from one of my local gun shops, Beltway Gun and Pawn. They had a few there, and then one came with this guy and one came with this guy, and that's how I got 4. But in a nutshell, I like it. I think you will too, and I think this is absolutely one of the best, nicest, and most versatile high-power copies out there. The MC P35 OPS is definitely a win for me, and I think you'll like it too. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.